Moving on to the next session, we will have another keynote session about distributed AI at the edge, sovereign inference, unlock scale, and savings. This session will be delivered by Field CTO Akamai Technologies, Naeem Ahmed. Can we hear a big round of applause for Naeem Ahmed?
Selamat sore, Assalamu alaikum. Nama saya Naeem Ahmed. No, unlike Raza before me, I will not be speaking in Bahasa. I've exhausted my knowledge of Bahasa. And yes, that is me twice. What my wife calls a midlife crisis, I like to say I'm being a little fashion forward. So a quick introduction first. I grew up in Pakistan, and I studied computer science and security engineering in the US. I started my career as a software engineer in banking technology in New York, and for the past 15 years, I've been doing a lot of the same in Hong Kong. And during this time, I have seen transition from software written in closed on-prem containers to cloud migrations, to distributed clouds, and now we're seeing a similar evolution of how AI is built. And I've been very curious about how this is being done across different industries and across different geographies, which is why I've joined Akamai, because I want to work with different partners, different industries, and across different regions. And this is what I'm going to be talking about today. So briefly, the agenda for today is I want to introduce you to Akamai. Some of you might have heard what Akamai has been doing in the past. I want to highlight what the future of Akamai is. I want to explain what is distributed inference and why it is so important for Indonesia's agenda to implement AI in this manner. So first, a brief history. Now, this is where we are today. Akamai has introduced AI inference into its network infrastructure. But Akamai started way back in 1998, almost 3 decades ago. And the first bottleneck that the internet faced was content delivery. So Akamai solved this by deploying a large network to bring content closer to their users. This was the first bottleneck that we solved. And what I want to show you is a quick demo. This, by the way, is a dashboard that is available to all our customers, and it shows our global content delivery network in the form of a nice spinning globe visualization. So, by the way, I captured this last night, so it is very current, and it's updated every 2 seconds. So as you can see, we're delivering about 200 terabits per second of total traffic. And this globe shows all of our points of presence. So we're across about 700 cities, about 2,000 data centers, 360,000 edge servers. And of course, we're in Indonesia as well. So if we zoom in on Jakarta, we're delivering about 5 terabits per second out of Jakarta data centers right now. And I also want to highlight, I actually learned this from our infrastructure team just yesterday, that Akamai has actually been present in Indonesia for 20 years. We celebrate our 20-year anniversary this year. So we first started with Indosat, and I believe we had a panelist from Indosat this morning, Noor Hakim, and he basically said, there's no AI without connectivity. So we started building connectivity across Indonesia 20 years ago. Now, of course, we're across all the major infrastructure, telco, ISP providers, but we started 20 years ago, and we've continued our commitment to developing the connectivity infrastructure in Indonesia. The second bottleneck that was faced was trust. We've accelerated content delivery, but how do we build security around it? So after we have this massive network, you can imagine we have eyes on a lot of the threats that are faced by our customers. So similarly, we have a visualization of the global security threats that our customers face. So this is a somewhat more interesting visualization. Each line represents the amount of traffic, and the darkness of the color represents how much threats there are. So this is a reasonable number. About 14% of all traffic is malicious. Another context, by the way, this really does represent what's happening globally. Akamai is one of the most distributed networks on the globe. We do see about a third of the world internet's bandwidth go through our servers. So this is very representative. Okay. So this is our app and API protection of firewalls. What is more interesting for this audience is what we see on terms of bot traffic. So if you just pay attention to this number over here, you can see that human traffic has fallen to about 35%. This is globally as of last night. And bot traffic is almost 65%. Just remember that number and think of what it means for the applications you're developing. Also, this number is significant. Less than 20% of bots that comprise that 65% are good bots. By good, we mean bots that we recognize, that serve functions that we care for. So you have a lot of noise on the internet, right? And you need to block it and protect against it, identify it at least. So the next bottleneck that was faced was applications, right? So we need to bring applications closer to users. We need to bring data closer to users. And we did that by building out compute networks, the Akamai Cloud, and finally now we also provide AI services across our network. Okay, so AI is what we call the fourth era of internet bottlenecks. This is a pattern that we've seen before, that we've resolved before. The answer has always been for Akamai to distribute content, security, compute, and now AI. We have a demo of how we distribute inference. I'm not going to go into the details right now. This is a little bit of a sneak view so that you can come to our booth outside, and we can demonstrate how this distributed inference model works. But in summary, on the right side, you have core AI infrastructure, where you're doing most of your AI inference, where LLMs are running. Of course, you're not going to put heavy AI infrastructure on all your nodes all over Indonesia. But to make a determination where it is most efficient to run your inference, you need to make that determination as close as possible to your users. That's what we call our edge layer, right? So a detailed demo of this is available at our booth, and I encourage you to please visit, and we can show you that. Okay, so this is where we are today now. We have over 1,000 terabits of capacity. Now, in the earlier slide, if you remember, today we were running at about 200. So there's a lot of extra bandwidth. Why? Because when you have spikes, either through legitimate customer traffic or security incidents, we need to make sure that the network is continuing to run smoothly. And this goes across the globe, and including in Indonesia. Right now in Indonesia, for example, we're running at half capacity. We maintain that much so that customer demand and security incidents can be resolved easily. We're across over 700 cities, 130 countries, and what this allows us to do is build an edge AI stack, where, as I said, we figure out where to route, how to route, and how to get the best inference model or the site where you want to do your inference available for your application. And in these core cloud sites is where we're hosting our AI inference infrastructure. As I mentioned, Indonesia has been a key priority for Akamai for 2 decades now. We are across 17 cities and 69 data centers. This, of course, needs to grow, and we look forward to growing with the use cases that come out from the Indonesian private and public sector. Here's a sample use case to illustrate what it means to have a decentralized and distributed inference model. So This example must be pretty familiar to all of you. You have a customer service agent that has an AI backend. Now, if the customer of this bank is based in Jakarta and speaks Bahasa, it's pretty straightforward. But what if the customer speaks another one of the regional languages, is in one of the outlying islands? Are you going to send the request to Jakarta, incur hundreds of milliseconds of latency, and then also do all your security layers, your data transfer, and everything in a core data center? Are you going to incur all the costs of transferring all this data from the outlying islands to Jakarta? That is not a scalable model. That's not an efficient model. That is not a model that will give you good performance. So you want to perform as much operations as part of this workflow at the edge as you possibly can. And that's the infrastructure and the architecture that Akamai is promoting and providing the tools to build. So this is not just something we're dreaming up at Akamai. There's a shift in the industry. So this is a comment from Jensen at the GTC, basically, again, emphasizing that the industry sees a movement towards distributed inference. And Akamai is positioned as a key partner to provide this. There is a place for large data centers and centralized AI, and there's a place for distributed AI. We believe that Indonesia is a very strong case for distributed AI. There's also a lot of market research that is pointing us in this direction. It's not just for Indonesia, this is global, but I think this case applies to Indonesia more than any other economy or geography, right? So there is an industry recognition that we're moving from training workloads to inference workloads, and those inference workloads do need to be distributed. Okay, so some details about why you should not be building centralized inference. So the first is latency. Again, the picture I want you to imagine is that you have your core data center in Jakarta, and your users are distributed across the outlying islands. You're going to incur a latency. There is great infrastructure that is being built, but a lot of it has very loopy routes to get to Jakarta. So you're not going to get real-time inference from that centralized data center. Okay, then there's the cost. So one of the things that Akamai prides ourselves in is that we offer very clear, transparent, flat pricing. The audience would be familiar with the term tokenomics. So an alternative to that is that you run your own models and you manage your own costs so that the costs are transparent to you and calculated by you, as opposed to getting a heavy token bill at the end of the month. Lock-in. So if you are going for one of the large hypervisors, one of the large model providers, you're probably locked into that model, you're locked into the tooling around it. So Akamai prides itself in providing a very developer-friendly, open source platform that you can develop on, and then you're not locked in. So especially in the case of Indonesia, I think, you're going to have lots of use cases, lots of providers, and you want to remain as agnostic as possible so that you have mobility across different providers for different use cases. Finally, if you're concentrating all of your flow into a central location like Jakarta, you're going to have severe concurrency issues. And this is a theme that I think has been mentioned by some of the speakers before me. And as I've been having conversations on the floor, one of the questions I keep getting asked is, but isn't this a lot of work? I mean, how do I run my own models? Isn't that a difficult problem to solve? And yes, it is a difficult problem to solve. But the objectives that Indonesia has of sovereign AI and for training 100,000 people over the next 2 years to be AI natives, it is absolutely going to be their expertise and their task to have mastery over your own AI infrastructure. And we believe that Akamai is going to be a strong partner in providing AI infrastructure that your AI native population can build upon. So why Akamai? Why now? I've gone through some of the points. I hope I've been clear that a centralized inference infrastructure does not suit the aims and the geography of Indonesia. So in Indonesia, AI adoption is accelerating, and it's going to be powered by an AI native workforce. You have sovereign AI and sovereign data needs. You need to secure this digital infrastructure, your inference and your data at source, and you need to distribute your AI and be able to scale it. One of the questions raised at the keynote this morning by Dr. Hammam Riza was, hey, how can we have massive scale and deep penetration? And that got me thinking, well, no one really answered the question. I think we can do it with the right architectural model that we, again, are calling distributed inference. So Akamai provides these services, and our motto is that we protect billions of people trillions of times a day. That is against compute, AI inference, data, using our security and AI infrastructure products. I'm coming close to the end of my time. I just want to share a few resources with you because there's a lot of material that could be relevant to different people in the audience. So I've tried to keep it general. But you can scan this QR code, and you'll be linked to a whole directory of real customer use cases, reference architectures, white papers. You can break it down by different product and industries. And you can certainly find examples of use cases that have been implemented, which are particular to the problem that you're working on. Or, of course, come to our booth, reach out to us, and we'd love to hear about your new use case and see how we can help you. There's another resource that I wanted to bring your attention to, which really emphasizes where the global enterprises are headed in terms of thinking about and deploying AI inference. So we published this report in March of this year. It was a survey done across 200 industry experts who have been deploying and building AI. And they are demanding less than 250 milliseconds of latency, 999 plus availability. What that means is that, AI inference cannot work if your latency is so large that it is no longer real time. You need availability because you need to provide operations. So if you have congestion in centralized data centers, then that's not going to work. 60% of all respondents said proximity of user to the digital infrastructure is a high priority. 64% said they need dynamic routing. What that means is making decisions based on where your user is, how they get routed to different data centers. And 77% said they're struggling with predictable cost. Again, this is the tokenomics point that I made earlier. Enterprises are unable to figure out how much they're going to get billed at the end of the month. And by running your own AI inference infrastructure, by having very clear pricing on data costs and egress costs, we believe Akamai helps address all these problems. Finally, and this is something that I've been thinking about since the morning, and therefore I added this slide. I've heard talk of sustainable AI, but the context in which we are addressing it right now is how AI will help Indonesia be more sustainable, right? So you're going to build smart cities, you're going to integrate AI into lots of tools and processes and IoT. But my question to you is your AI itself sustainable? We know that one of the great issues with AI deployments right now is the cost of data centers and the impact they have in the environment and power generation. So first of all, Akamai is committed to these 2030 goals, and I invite you to come visit our site, come to our booth, so we can have a conversation about this. This is not greenwashing. This is something we feel very passionately about. But it's not just about how the infrastructure is built. It is how you architect your applications. If you are going to send all your inference requests and house all your data in central large data centers, you are going to incur higher costs both to your enterprise and to the environment, by distributing the load intelligently so that lower inference tasks run on lighter processing units at the edge. You save cost, you save power, and you save massive data transfer costs. So that's the solution that we believe is integral to Indonesia's AI journey, and we look forward to working with you. We've been committed to Indonesia for the past 2 decades, and we're looking forward to the next 2 decades as well. Thank you for your time. I appreciate that it's the afternoon and everyone is in a slump, so everyone who is here has been listening with rapt attention, and I look forward to catching up with all of you later today and tomorrow at our booth. So please come find our team, and we would love to hear about your particular use cases and how we can be part of Indonesia's AI journey. Thank you.